What is going on, everybody? It is episode 782 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and this is a crisis party for yesterday.
Starting the same way as yesterday.
Indeed.
This is from Jared May. We got the super chat too late to have it on the show yesterday.
Thank you, Jared. That was a very, very good one, and we decided to put that through today because it came through yesterday just before we went off the air. So thank you so much for that. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but again, my name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host, now that the interruptions are gone. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary, and welcome to anyone who may have subscribed after my appearance on IRL last night.
How did that go?
It was not universally well received, I would say. I said some negative things about Elon.
Can't do that.
Things I think I've already said on this show.
Probably.
But our chat is so much less, I guess, easily angered.
Yeah.
That those takes are much more relevant.
What was the? Do you want to remind me what the take was?
Well, I don't even remember exactly how it came up, but I basically said that I don't like how Elon has turned into Trump's shadow, essentially, following him around everywhere, and I don't like the amount of influence that he has.
Okay.
And I don't think that he's a trustworthy person.
Okay. And I don't think that's an unreasonable take in any shape, way, or form.
Oh, I also said that I liked using X when it was Twitter.
Yeah. I do think that with the introduction of monetization, it has made it a very, very different platform, and it's a lot less fun.
It is less fun.
It's not less informative. For me, it's just as informative. But I don't tweet to like post deep and insightful things. Mostly, I use Twitter to get information for my job.
Sure, me too.
So it's not any less effective at doing what it needs to do for my work.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just not the organic place for memes that it used to be.
Like for me, I don't have anything super insightful to say, so I imagine like if I didn't do this for work, I just wouldn't tweet at all. Like I don't like most people in this space, they got something to say, and they can't go on without saying their piece. And I respect that. And I understand where the desire to create content comes from, that desire to really, really say what you think about something. I don't really have that. So,
it's still pretty rare that I tweet in general.
Yeah, you don't tweet very often.
I tweet like once every few business days.
Do you have like a little monitor? You're like a little clock goes off, and then you're like, okay, it's time to tweet.
I mean, I should more, but I feel like the way that I want to tweet isn't compatible with the way that X works. You know what I mean? I'm used to tweeting like how I feel about something or a joke.
Yeah.
And now it's all about like including like pieces of engagement media in the tweet and like making it into like some kind of mini article, you know? And
I mean, as far as like what Twitter is supposed to do in giving rise to people talking about like politics, it's improved as far as the amount of stuff that you're going to be able to get from people that are going to give you different points of view. I do agree with that. I do think that it's better for politics. But you're just talking about the experience of somebody who's using it for fun. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So then you were just, well, what it is as with most things on the internet, ladies and gentlemen, it was just two people who were talking past each other. The chat was likely talking about politics and talking about people getting banned because of their political stances, and Mary was just talking about fun.
Yeah, yes, someone said Twitter was better before Elon took over. Mary, yes, that is exactly what I said.
Okay.
I still believe that. It's my hot take.
There you go. Everybody's allowed to have a hot take, ladies and gentlemen. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, guys. I'm sure there will be at least one or two hot takes in this show. But before we get started, would you guys hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you. Remember to share these videos, the live streams and everything with your friends and your family and your loved ones. Perhaps you were like, listen to her take on Elon. You got to share this with people so that they can share it with other people and it can go viral.
Yeah.
Do that by sharing with your friends and your family and your loved ones. Everyone you share it with, it helps the show grow. It is the most organic way to help us gain more subscribers and more traction. So thank you guys so much for that. As always, remember that Super Chats $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion. We will read them right then and there. I mentioned this today, which I don't usually mention that anymore. But on days like yesterday where it was particularly busy, there was a lot of segments that had a lot of interruptions, which I don't mind. I like it. In fact,
okay.
people leave comments on the segments because we post the clips from this channel, and they're like, they hate the interruptions. I'm like, well, maybe you should watch live then.
Yeah,
maybe if you watch live
in the club,
maybe if you just watch live like the
understand.
cool kids, then you wouldn't have to worry about it being an interruption because you'd be part of the show when it was live. So we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. We are going to talk about the acquisition of James Bond to Amazon and the fact that they now have complete creative control over the character. Originally, I believe they shelled out like $8.5 billion for MGM Studios, which got them James Bond. But in addition, they just now, supposedly, according to Deadline, paid another $1 billion to gain the creative control over the character because they've owned the character since 2020. Or I shouldn't say owned. They got access to the character in 2022, but Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson are both, staunch supporters of the character in their own right because they're the ones who've been shepherding the character for decades and decades, and they were in the way. So they did what all big-name studios and businesses do. They threw money at the problem. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Annie Knight. If you don't know who Annie Knight is, I don't blame you. In a world of Bonnie Blues and Lily Phillips, Annie Knight is the dark horse candidate sleeping with just 600 men in the year 2024. Well, after sleeping with those 600 men, she has decided, well, it's time to settle down. So
yeah, it's time to find love and, be wifey material.
I'm sure.
And her name, believe it or not, is actually a double entendre.
Shocking. So we're gonna
Night.
I didn't even think about that, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking about how I think Addison Rae is we're gonna talk about Addison Rae as well, but Addison Rae is slammed with like it's a very porn sounding name. It just is to me. So we're gonna talk about Addison Rae, but we're also gonna talk about Jaden Smith because I guess just it's one of Mary's passion projects. She wants to dunk on Jaden Smith. Like, it has nothing to do with, it's got nothing to do with current events. She's just like, how about we dunk on Jaden Smith?
You're right. Like, dunking on Jaden Smith is one of my passion projects. And, he deserves it. And you'll find out why.
So,
soon enough.
We got that. We got a bunch of other stuff. We got a 20 there. Do you got that
20 from Baron O. Beef Juice. Said, I'm interrupting your conversation.
We appreciate
Well, thank
that.
you for that.
I have to refresh the browser now because it wasn't showing up in the chat. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to catch up here. Get everything going so that we can be ready to go for the show. We want everything to be just perfect as we get started today.
It's going to be a great show today. A tremendous show.
Yes, exactly.
Incredible participation in the chat.
Yep. All right.
You've never seen anything like it.
Hey, I love our chat. We have a great chat. All right. Let's go ahead and get started then.
Addison Rae is perhaps the most famous person to have emerged from TikTok fame. She is a TikToker turned pop star who is now doing her best to shed what used to be her image and be a mature, flourishing pop star. She's doing everything she can as well to gain a following of mostly Twitter stans who are intensely anti-Trump, which means she's going back on her previous support, or at least friendliness, toward Trump in the past. And she is making statements that she's afraid of what is to come in the Trump administration.
Do you think part of this feels like it's going backwards? Like, it feels like the culture has been shifting towards Trump in the last several months, and now this is one of the weird instances of it shifting back the other way?
It's not exactly that. I think it's if you want a following of intense cult-like
her genre
stans
of music, yeah. Like
in her genre, in her area, like in her niche,
so that she
has to appeal to them.
So that when things come up on Pop Base, they say she ate.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Or she
We have
spilled.
another 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. I've heard that 50% of the reason Broccoli cut the Amazon deal was that she was just tired of fighting with no resolution. It's clear it's one of those life's too short situations.
Yeah, I don't blame her. She's in her 70s or late 60s or something. Go
retire, girl.
Look, I understand. I'm the type of guy who's like, look, I want the stuff to be good too, but on the other hand, pragmatically, I'm like, go do your thing.
It should be noted that Addison Rae has been a laughingstock on the internet for a very long time.
She's a lol cow?
No, I wouldn't say a lol cow because she didn't really do anything to deserve it other than appear to be just, a very basic normie sorority chick.
Mm-hmm.
And she was known mainly for doing stupid TikTok dances and being an Instagram baddie.
So
but now
she
she
say?
wants people to take her seriously as an artist and a thinker. So this is from her recent interview in Vogue. She also wants to be seen as a fashion pioneer. That's another part of her new persona.
She's got a long way to go.
Yeah. Addison Rae tells Vogue France about how she is worried about Donald Trump's rise to power. She said, yes, things are changing at a crazy speed. It's inconceivable to see how quickly one can abuse newly acquired power, thus being disconnected from others and from the values of your country. And it seems that some freedoms are slowly being taken away from us, which is very creepy.
The values of our country is to let NGOs and bureaucrats bleed us dry of all our money through taxes and black budgets. That's the values of America.
What are the freedoms
that are being taken
that
away?
Are being taken away? I want to understand what she thinks. What does she think is being stripped away from her? Because it certainly isn't anything to do with abortion.
No.
Literally nothing has happened on the abortion front since Trump took office. And that's what I would assume if we were talking before the election.
Yeah.
But now that it's happened and nothing has transpired in that arena in terms of controlling women's bodies.
For men to compete in women's sports?
Well, I would hope Addison Rae is not concerned with that because she is biologically female. But she also was asked for her take on the TikTok ban and why Trump doesn't deserve credit for reinstating TikTok. And she is essentially the avatar for TikTok and the accessibility to fame and money and success it gives to creators. She says she does not feel the need to thank Donald Trump for saving TikTok. She refuses to give him the credit because, quote, he was the one who originally created the problem. He was the cause of the blockage. I remember the first time I heard about a possible ban on the app was around 2020. I was worried. Of course, I'm glad the network survived.
Allow me to remind you that Donald Trump proposed a ban of TikTok on government phones, not on regular people's devices, and that the TikTok ban was then pushed through during the Biden administration, blah, 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 blah. It took 10 seconds of research to look any of that up.
So after the deadline of January 19th, they decided to delay the decision, right? So is a U.S. company still going to buy out?
I don't know what's going on.
TikTok? It seems to be in limbo still. So
they're just going to keep kicking the can down the road, farther and farther and farther. It's really funny. I was when we were coming home from out of town, we were kind of talking about the things in which Trump's base disagree with him on. It came up because they were talking about the what was it? The $5,000 checks if we close down the IRS, and people going back and forth about whether that was a good idea. But it also came up because of the discussion of IVF expansion and the fact that a good amount of his base would disagree with him on that. But that's what happens when you create a big tent political party that has a bunch of disparate ideologies. And the problem is when you have nobody left to fight on the other side, you're going to start fighting amongst yourselves. But the TikTok one is a contentious one for quite a few people.
We have a 20 from Value in You. So, Mary, did your Elon opinion change post-election, i.e. specifically with how he has partnered with Trump? He seemed pretty non-censorship and fair elections focused prior. I've had a bad feeling about Elon pretty much from day one. I have never found him likable or trustworthy. I think his involvement with Neuralink and transhumanism and tech accelerationism is basically just everything you need to know about his agenda, and he shares very little in terms of actual values and policy goals with the people who got Trump elected. So, no, it didn't change post-election. If anything, I like him even less since November. But here's what's ironic about this situation, though. Addison Rae, for years and still to this day, has received criticism for supposedly being a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
She is perceived by a lot of people as being amenable to Trump, specifically because of her decision to introduce herself to Trump at a UFC event back in 2021, which you can see here.
Yep, hold on. Forgot this was that long ago.
Yeah.
It's like, buddy, get the fuck out of the way, man.
I'm Addison. Nice to meet you. I have to say hi. Hello.
It's like, buddy, you know?
Nice to meet you.
Buddy, you know?
Addison Rae exposed. She knows what she's doing now.
Trump's gonna fuck her. Easy.
Yo, you're a funny ass guy, bro.
Okay.
So after this video came out of Addison Rae introducing herself and just not being toxic toward Trump to his face, she had to defend herself against a swarm of hate comments that were basically saying, like, you voted for him. And she said, I don't support Trump at the time. And if someone does, that's their opinion. And I respect everyone's opinion, for each their own. But it's a very rare occasion that you get to meet a former president.
It's
and
like
I think most people could agree with me on that.
It's like the most normal take ever.
Right.
Prior to 2016.
She
Literally
said,
the most normal take ever.
I consider myself a friendly person, so introducing myself doesn't mean I stand behind anything that respective person condones. So basically, retweets don't equal endorsements. She's allowed to be a friendly person and meet someone who is of note.
Correct.
And not spit in his face.
But the culture that she is trying to break into as an artist demands literally the total opposite of that.
Exactly.
There is a desire for complete. You're not allowed to go outside of the leftist political view. Far, not even just leftist. Far, far, far left. If you want to be part of Stan Twitter.
Well, those comments about her being a Trump supporter have not waned at all since 2021. And as recently as 2 days ago, a Twitter account said, I actually despise Addison Rae. Her music is trash. She's a Trumpy, and I will not forget her god-awful TikTok dances. So here's a funny thing. The Addison Rae fans have a special name for their fandom. They're called the Racists.
Let's go.
Raecist.
Okay.
They're called Addison Racists.
Okay.
So one of the racists who goes by #1 racist on Twitter replied saying, "Oh, you dumb bitch. You can't decide on a gender, but you can decide to hate Addison. She has more talent in her pinky than you have in your entire big ass body." Yeah. That's the general tone that is coming from Addison Rae's camp currently.
Yeah. Again, like, there is no place like Stan Twitter. I highly recommend if
They're
you ever want an idea of just how bad it can be the other direction, I recommend going and looking into it. It's really, really funny.
In this same Vogue
kind of in
interview,
a way, like in the same way where even if you like Donald Trump, you know that like really, really weird aunt that you might have that posts the Trump memes with like where he's riding a unicorn to the stars, with like an American flag on his shoulder. Like, it's kind of like the opposite of that,
right?
Yeah.
Even someone who voted for Trump can recognize that some of the fanfare is a little bit over the top.
Yeah, like it's kind of like if you were looking for the opposite direction of where we go one, we go all. Going the opposite direction is a different type of cult.
Right, and Addison Rae is building her own cult right now. And from the same interview that she did with Vogue, she was asked to comment on Mark Zuckerberg saying that in the corporate world, we are in need of more masculine energy. This is something that he stated on his Joe Rogan interview. And she responded to him saying, I think we've had our dose of masculine energy. No need to add more. What the world needs is feminine energy.
I don't believe for a second that she believes a word she just said.
No?
I believe everything she just said is a pointed and approved corporate slogan from 2017. It's like Single Ladies by Beyonce is playing in the background.
I mean, it depends on what you mean by the word feminine. You know, it depends on what that means to you.
I don't think she's talking about the divine feminine. I don't think she's talking about any type of nuanced feminine. I think she's talking about feminism, not even in a way in which she believes, but just merely because it's the talking point she needs for pop-based people to like her.
What do you think of Zuckerberg's initial statement about the corporate world needing more masculine
I don't believe
energy?
he believes a word he says either. I think he says what he's going to say to try and bolster his business.
I agree.
Don't trust any tech oligarch. That goes for Elon, that goes for Zuckerberg, that goes for Bezos. Trust them as far as you can get something from them, whether it's better access to their material, whether it's them making a product you like. Not that anybody likes Meta anymore.
Like
These
X.
are not people to be trusted, liked, or ingratiated to. They're people to try and see as a tool because they are not your friends. They're public figures that serve a purpose in society. Now, that purpose can be good when it's done right, but that's like putting yourself on a personal level with them is one of the stupidest things you could do.
That is an amusing juxtaposition between Mark Zuckerberg and Addison Rae. I never thought I would say a sentence like that.
Yeah.
But he is saying that the corporate world needs more masculine energy because he has an agenda and an audience he's trying to appeal to.
They go the way the wind blows.
Disingenuously.
In the chest.
And then Addison Rae similarly is just saying the opposite because she has an agenda and a very niche audience she's trying to appeal to.
The hardest part about doing this job is trying to explain to people that I feel nothing towards any of these people. They are all empty, faceless blobs that serve no purpose other than mild forms of entertainment from some of them. And when it comes to the tech oligarchs, they make products that may make your life better. They may make your life worse. But I feel literally, as far as I can get for the idea of stoicism, I feel nothing towards any celebrity. It doesn't matter how stupid something they say is. It doesn't matter how much they say something I agree with. I don't care because I don't know them as an actual person. They're barely, I don't want to say they're not human beings to me, but they're avatars of who they actually are. Not that they're not real people, but as somebody who doesn't know them personally, I can't speak to that. So all I can speak to is the shell of their comments.
Well, they've built brands for themselves and want to be known by those brands or those characters that they've written.
Yeah.
Not who they are. So it's fair for you to say that.
And that's fine. And the same would be true for you if you're watching this and us. You can't know me as a person. You can't know Mary as a person. You can know as much as you can know from opinions that we share on topics that are of interest in the news.
Right.
People are a lot more dynamic than that. And that's true for all of these people as well. They are more than their public beliefs, than their publicly held beliefs.
I hope it's evident enough by now that I don't espouse my views in a way that is just to appeal to our audience.
Yeah.
I am willing to go out on a limb and say something that's unpopular. And I think that also makes things more interesting anyway.
Simon Pepsi in the chat says they don't care about you either. Yeah, that's the point. I don't care about them. They don't care about me. It is ostensibly a business transaction in every sense of the word. Like whether it's you using X, whether it's Meta, whether it's whether you're a person who decides to listen to Addison Rae. God help us all.
Yeah.
Like it's a business transaction.
Mark Zuckerberg wants you to use Facebook. Elon wants you to use X and buy an EV.
Yeah.
And Addison Rae wants you to stream her new song, High Fashion.
And whatever that takes for them to get you to do that, they will do because that's the way the world works. That's why capitalism works better than communism, because they understand that people are inherently self-interested and they will work to produce products that may be for the benefit of others, but will largely benefit them through sale and purchase.
Go off, Brett.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this is a sad one.
This is a dark
All right,
one.
it's I wouldn't say it's sad because we don't know the whole story, but it is dark.
Yeah, fans of Ariana Grande are becoming more and more fearful that she is not going to live to see the day Wicked Part 2 comes out in theaters. And I am being 100% serious when I say this. It's not a joke. When you look at these pictures of her from the BAFTAs, you can see she is very clearly clinically underweight to a point that people are not able to ignore it anymore. They're not able to be nice about it anymore. This needs to be addressed publicly.
It was reminiscent of that one picture of Emma Watson from like 2021 where she looked really unwell, mainly because her hair was matted and she looked very, very sickly.
In that instance, it was different. Emma Watson was getting bullied because she looked ugly in the photo.
I thought it was because they said she looked too thin. And
they were mostly saying that she looked old and ugly in the photo. This is different because people who already like Ariana Grande are pointing out how underweight she is out of pure concern for her well-being. And yet every time this happens, every time a new photo of Ariana Grande looking sickly goes viral, the person who posted it gets shouted down and they're told to shut their mouths and not speak on it because it's intrusive, it's rude, it's mean. It's essentially just not nice. It's not polite.
Not how the world works, especially if you're a public figure.
Yeah, exactly. And she has been on the press tour for Wicked for many months now. And it seems like she continues to deteriorate in the public eye. To expect people not to have opinions about that is absolutely absurd. So this was the first picture I saw.
Do we think she's ill?
With something other than anorexia?
Yes.
Well, that certainly could be the case. Yeah.
Remember, guys, this came up in 2021. No, I'm sorry, in 2020 when Chadwick Boseman made a post during COVID and people started commenting on the way he looked and people were saying, oh, he's just losing weight for a role. But he did not look intentionally skinny. He looked sickly skinny. And of course, it turned out that he was sick and he later passed away. So this has happened before.
But now people use the example of Chadwick Boseman as a cudgel to silence anyone who brings up the fact that Ariana Grande looks deathly ill. They're saying, you don't know what someone's real story is, so it's insulting for you to bring this up. You should respect her privacy. So they're essentially saying maybe Ariana Grande has cancer? Like, I don't know. I think that's a bit of a crazy claim in and of itself to make. But this photo of her gained, I think, 67 million views on X.
Wow.
This photo of her from the BAFTAs is going extremely viral. And here were some of the responses. Chadwick Boseman was looking really skinny and losing a lot of weight while battling cancer. Just because someone loses weight and starts looking skinny like this doesn't necessarily mean it's an eating disorder. Here's the thing, though. I remember even just as recently as a couple of months ago, Ariana Grande clapping back at people who were body shaming her.
Yes, I remember.
And it was also just a year ago that she made another response saying you shouldn't take notice of people's bodies and you shouldn't comment on anyone's body, because she also reiterated, I am in good health, I'm fine, I'm good,
Again,
I'm okay.
This is the internet. You are a public figure. You are not allowed, you're not allowed. You're allowed to ask, but it's unreasonable to believe that people are just going to not have opinions when you put yourself out into the public space. If you don't want to be the object of someone's thoughts, then you should just not put yourself out there at all. That's the way the world works.
You can choose not to disclose what is wrong with you, but to deny that anything is wrong and insist over and over again that you're fine and this is just what you happen to look like at your peak of health, you're taking us for fools. I mean, really, it's an insult to our collective intelligence to say that anyone can look like this at the peak of their health. Another person commented, this is really sad. Something is clearly going on in her life, and obviously we have to respect her right to privacy, but I hope she gets the help she needs. Everyone is clearly thinking that she has an eating disorder. And in these photos, if you're listening rather than watching, her entire rib cage is visible. In both of these photos from the BAFTAs, her entire rib cage is basically showing through her skin, and you know, it doesn't look normal. Here's the thing, she's always been skinny. That's not a new thing. Pretty much for her the entire time that she's been famous, she has been a pretty skinny girl. But now she has taken an even more extreme turn for the worse. When you're already pretty thin, losing more weight has a very extreme effect on how you're perceived. Yeah. So while she may have been skinny before conventionally, this is very unconventional to see in the public eye, especially when these concerns about her have been circulating for years at this point already.
But it's gotten worse recently.
It's gotten more and more loud as she's been on the Wicked press tour, because there's this bizarre narrative going around that the Wicked movie itself healed Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo of all of their trauma.
Hollywood doesn't heal people.
It trauma bonded them, or it healed them, or it gave them some kind of breakthrough.
That's PR bullshit.
Yeah,
Hollywood doesn't heal people.
And clearly you can see by the dramatic weight loss of both Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo during and post the filming of Wicked, it did not heal them to make this movie. In fact, it seems like as this press tour goes on, the worse and worse they look. And I don't know how they can possibly keep this up as Wicked Part 2 is still in the process of being made and is coming out. When is it? I think
in November or something.
November.
Am I
it's in
wrong?
the fall.
Yeah.
It's in the fall that's coming out. So this is not going to be over anytime soon.
So they saved a lot of money on catering, is what you're saying.
Exactly. We have a 20 from Weary Traveler. Happy Friday, PCC and friends. Today is the start of my long weekend.
Let's go.
You're now being used as background noise while I play Diablo 4 instead of when I'm denying insurance claims.
Okay.
Don't tell Luigi.
Yeah, I was just saying, don't tell Luigi. That shit's crazy.
Andrew Tate has also weighed in on the situation with Ariana Grande. He tweeted, "I'm sorry, Ariana Grande, you're too skinny and I would no longer F you. Access denied." He followed it up saying, "Why does the mainstream media keep contacting me for comment? Have I not been clear? I'm sorry, Ariana. I will not offer you a chance with the top G until you eat some hamburgers. You currently do not stand a chance with me. I hope this clarification helps. Good day."
He's very good at X.
So
he's very good at getting engagement.
If Ariana Grande wants to have a chance to hook up with the top G, well, I mean, she's gonna need to bulk up.
She might have thought a Bugatti was food and ran the other way.
Yeah, it sounds similar enough to burger. She started running.
I thought, Bugatti.
You know, Ariana Grande, I mean, she sounds like the top G, but I guess not.
I don't know. I look at this and I don't see a way out that comes from a press tour like that. It's going to take time away from the industry. Certainly when you're on the road constantly and you're going from event to event to event, that's a hard way to live anyways.
Like, are they doing drugs to keep up with the demands of
I don't
this
know
whole franchise they're part of now? Thank you.
I mean, are they doing drugs? It's Hollywood. I wouldn't put it past them.
Every interview they did together, they're like petting each other and crying. They're incredibly emotionally unstable.
That's what happens when you haven't eaten in 10 days.
When you are low blood sugar and also hyped up on some crazy drugs to be awake and alert for these interviews.
Could be, I mean, I don't know if that's the case here, but that would be the type of thing if you were going through like withdrawal, like you're just like you've been numb for so long that your body just starts accessing emotions again and you can't believe it. So you're like just crying out of nowhere.
It seems to me that Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are both like feeding into each other's worst tendencies.
And I can't know what's going on with either of these ladies, but I do know that it's ridiculous to believe that you can't look with your own lying eyes and say that everything is great, because clearly not everything is great.
We have another 20 from Gaten J. "You are not background noise. You are background music."
Thank you.
For music to your ears.
That's perfect.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what it is.
Yeah. There are also rumors going around that Ariana Grande is home wrecking Cynthia Erivo now.
What?
Yeah. Cynthia Erivo is a lesbian, by the way, in a relationship with a woman. However, there have been rumors that Ariana Grande is trying to home wreck that relationship as well, as if one wasn't enough.
Is that with the approval of SpongeBob SquarePants or without?
Probably with SpongeBob's approval.
I'm sure he didn't have a say in the matter.
Yeah, or he's just taken what he can get. I think she already has lost interest in him, and he's going to get kicked to the curb very soon.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's gonna learn that
I mean,
he made
actually,
wrong
no.
call.
You know what's gonna happen? She's so skinny, he's gonna dump her. He's gonna be like, look, you're unhealthy. And then everyone's gonna be mad at him for having the gall to dump somebody more famous than him.
Right.
That's what happens whenever these things happen, whenever like some attractive female celebrity dates a guy who's less attractive than them, they end up getting broken up with, and then everybody's like, how?
Well, it's because the guy gets a huge ego about it. I was just thinking about
Cry harder,
this
ladies.
in regard to MGK and Megan Fox. How can you get with Megan Fox and then cheat on her? You have to have a serious problem.
His looks aside, it's not like he wasn't famous as well.
Okay, I'm not saying he wasn't famous.
He's not a good example.
But he's clearly with a woman who is physically out of his league and is world renowned for her sex appeal and beauty. So then he proposes to her. They're engaged. And he cheats on her. Because being with Megan Fox blew up his ego.
Maybe Megan Fox when she was doing Michael Bay Transformers movies, but through the magic of plastic surgery, she now looks like every other girl that he could pick up at one of his concerts.
That's sad.
There is no world in which that guy can't go on Instagram and find 100 Megan Foxes who, maybe she's a little bit higher on the scale than them, but ego doesn't work that way. And that's just the fact of the matter is ego for him.
It's sad that she doesn't look unique anymore.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
you know what? Let's move on, guys, because we got a bunch of other stuff to get into today. So last night I was watching episodes 1 through 3 of season 3 of Reacher. I am quite enjoying it, and at the end of this segment, I am going to give you a mini review of that. But with the release of Reacher season 3, the mainstream media and the star of the show, Alan Ritchson, are doing everything in their power to make sure that you, a fan of this show, don't watch it because they want to turn it political right as the new season is dropping, because Alan Ritchson, for some reason, decided to call out Matt Gaetz.
He's trash talking. He's picking a fight. He's picking
a fight with Matt Gaetz. I'll read this quote that I think is very funny. He says, I would love to know how it came up. He starts that motherfucker, we are adversaries. Was the guy interviewing him just like, so Reacher season 3, huh? What do you think about Matt Gaetz?
It's in this GQ interview that this came up. They're saying Alan Ritchson points out that Reacher's audience demographics are basically a 50-50 split between men and women and between Democrats and Republicans. So when he has public run-ins, it's not always dudes trying to punk him. It presents an interesting dichotomy. The man he plays on TV despises most things about the modern age. Reacher has no fixed address, travels only with clothes on his back, doesn't own a phone, won't take selfies with a stranger. That doesn't mean the character is foreign to Ritchson. He and the fictional character share a few things in common.
By the way, they have ramped up the female gaze for this show.
Yeah, I was asking you if you think that the shirtless scenes are getting to a point of gratuity.
He is pretty much shirtless 60% of the time, 50% of the time in the first 3 episodes of season 3.
Okay, here is how it came up in the GQ interview. They say, born in North Dakota to a school teacher, mother, and a father who retired from the Air Force, Ritchson's family briefly moved to Illinois during his childhood before settling in Niceville, Florida, where he was classmates with the ghoulish politician Matt Gaetz, who has been accused, among other things, of paying for sex with a 17-year-old. The mere mention of Gaetz's name puts a charge into Alan Ritchson. He says, that MFer, we are adversaries. It's shocking to me that the panhandle of Florida continues to vote for somebody. Knowing everything we know about him and the promises he has made behind closed doors about pardoning certain criminals, he is just not a good dude. There's part of me that wants to get into politics to outdo somebody like him for good. And there's part of me that's like, I'm not duplicitous enough to succeed in politics. There are certain people that do a good job of staying true to who they are, but they're ineffective. I think Bernie Sanders is a hero, but it's like, what has he accomplished?
Just remember that Bernie Sanders endorsed Hillary Clinton and sold out Tulsi Gabbard, despite the fact that she put her career on the line for him. He is not a hero. you're stupid. It's not your fault. You're an actor. I still love you as an actor.
You're stupid. It's not your fault. You're an actor.
I love you as an actor. I think you do great in Reacher. In this case, I think you're wrong. I don't think that Bernie Sanders is a hero. I don't think there is such thing as a hero politician. Politicians are not to be trusted, just like business oligarchs. But it is funny because, again, I don't even necessarily put this on him. He certainly went out of his way post Reacher season 2 to put his TDS on display. Whatever, fine. This is where we get into that entire tired argument where people, it happens on X every time one of these things comes out, where everybody says, like, I'm not watching it because this guy said this thing. I don't care. I'm never going to care. I understand why you care. I understand why you don't want to watch things by people who say stupid things or who you believe would hate you. Again, just like I treat business oligarchs, they're offering a product. It's a pragmatic business relationship. In this case, is my enjoyment of Reacher season 3 ruined because Alan Ritchson says stupid stuff? No, it's not. I think the show is great. And I always, given how hard it is to find good entertainment these days, I'm going to take it. It doesn't bother me one bit. Also, if I remember correctly, Matthew Marsden, who is a very, very prominent conservative influencer, plays his dad in that show in the flashbacks, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
In the past seasons.
Yeah.
I can separate the art from the artist. I understand if you can't, why you can't, but I think you deprive yourself of some good entertainment from time to time, and I don't think it's going to ruin this show because most people aren't obsessively on X looking at what Alan Ritchson says about Donald Trump. They just aren't.
Well, he is quite a puzzle in terms of his political views and who he seems to be in his personal life. You know, he clearly cares about a lot of things that liberals, for the most part, don't. He's very into his Christian faith. Talks about it a lot.
This is one of those things I wanted to actually do a segment on at one point. I said he is a rare example of a practicing Christian who is very much on the left.
I mean, he's a woke Christian.
Yes. So when I say that is there's plenty of people in Hollywood who pay lip service when they win awards. That's very different from somebody who starts their own YouTube channel to talk about scripture.
Which is what Ritchson did.
Yes, he does.
He's very outspoken about his faith. He also clearly is at top physical shape. That is something, admittedly, you know, liberals don't care about. In fact, they revile that and claim that people who go to the gym are far-right radicals. And, you know, he also seems to want to use his platform as an entertainer to speak out on these socio-political issues and become a mouthpiece.
And this could hurt his career down the line. I don't know. He seems to be on an upward trajectory. Like I said, he ended up being playing a prominent villain in a Fast and the Furious movie. He is now, Reacher's already been greenlit through season 4. So we're not just getting season 3. If you want to talk critic scores, the score for Reacher has gone up every single season.
He was in that movie with Henry Cavill.
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I like that movie. He also, they're bringing back Blue Mountain State. I don't know how they're going to do it with them as old people rather than college kids, but they are doing
AI.
that. Yeah.
Right. Well, believe it or not, Matt Gaetz found the time of his day to clap back at Alan Ritchson.
Remember, politics is just Hollywood for ugly people.
Right. Yes, exactly. And in Alan Ritchson's case,
That's
Hollywood is politics for pretty people. Yeah. Like, it's literally never been so clear. But Matt Gaetz tweeted in response to Alan Ritchson, Hollywood apparently changes people. Alan was a year behind me in high school, and we were both on the speech and debate team. We were not adversaries, as I won debate championships, and Alan did more acting stuff. As I recall, his older brother Eric won more often than Alan did. He was always very nice to me and everyone, and his mother, the computer lab monitor, loved me. At her invitation, I even went to his dad's retirement party from the Air Force. It was held at a karaoke bar called Lubos in Niceville, where his dad sang Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. I sang Centerfold. It's so bizarre that they have this connection, though. Yeah, isn't it?
That they're connected.
Like, it almost feels like it was scripted by the deep state.
Yeah. It's so weird.
Right? Like, they went to high school together, but they weren't just at the same high school in, like, a group of 5,000 people and never met. They actually knew each other personally and had similar interests and are family friends.
And especially because it's not California. Like if you go on IMDb, you'll see endless trivia things where it's like went to the same high school as this person, this person, this person. But we're not talking about that, and we're talking about politicians and not.
I mean, I don't know who comes out on top. Who looks better here?
They both,
because like
stupid.
if you're being realistic,
Matt Gaetz wins because he's only responding.
Well, Matt Gaetz wins in that he seems unbothered and Alan Ritchson seems bothered, but Alan Ritchson wins in that he could completely deck Matt Gaetz in a real fight, not a Twitter fight. Yeah. So it's hard to say.
Here's my other point to this, in that it's not like as stupid as what he said was. If you look up his name, it's not diluted with the Matt Gaetz stuff right now. It's a bunch of puff pieces about his fitness routine and the return of Reacher. So it's not just him calling out Matt Gaetz.
He did have an interesting take on sex scenes and
why
he does them even though he is a Christian. Speaking to GQ, Alan Ritchson said that some Christians have a hard time separating him from his characters and their actions on screen. People have this weird relationship with fictional characters and sort of equate them to the real human being. I don't have that problem making that distinction. I get criticized a lot by Christians who are like, how dare you have an unmarried sex scene on TV and then talk about Jesus? I'm sorry, I doubt that's going to be part of the conversation when I'm standing at the pearly gates. And I find that interesting. I don't think anyone is objecting to the sex scenes just on the merit of the characters being unmarried in the show.
Oh,
the
they're saying that it's not your
are saying you
wife.
Shouldn't put sex on TV. Like it doesn't. I would still object to a sex scene between married characters in a TV show.
It's weird.
In the principle that it's pornographic.
Think of Neil McDonough, who's very religious and won't do sex scenes because he believes that he doesn't want to do that to his wife.
Well, he said that he wouldn't even do kissing scenes,
yeah.
which I think is maybe too extreme.
Yeah.
But also, I think it is a very unconventional job, and I probably wouldn't want to be married to someone who's kissing other women on camera.
Look, here's the thing, guys. I watched the first 3 episodes of Reacher Season 3. I think it's very, very good. I think it's leagues above Season 2 so far. And the general consensus from what I saw on X, which is where you go if you want the most terminally online takes, is that a lot of people in the space are still watching it and enjoying it. And every time you post about it, there are the people in the comments who are then saying, I'm not watching it because Alan Ritchson said this. But you don't reach that level of success with just people who care about Donald Trump watching your show. You have to have broad appeal when it comes to the success of these shows. And the reason why it's doing so well is because it doesn't really lean into anything politically, at least not as far as I can see. The show, it's done by a guy named Nick Santora, who's done very, very good work in the past. And it's great. And it's not telling you what to think or feel about anything. It's probably got some commentary about business and power, but for the most part, it's just a great television show. And most people aren't on Twitter listening to what he's saying about celebrities or what he's saying about Donald Trump. I do recommend that if you liked Season 1 of Reacher, if you were iffy about Season 2, to check out Season 3. I think it's leagues above the second season in a lot of ways. I was going to do like a mini review, but I'm wondering if maybe I'll just do that as a separate video because I've got like 2 pages of notes and it'll make the segment extremely long. But I had a lot of fun with it. I think you guys will too. If you are somebody that likes to separate the art from the artist, just give it a shot. You can.
I think you can do it. I believe in you. Alan Ritchson's political takes are the most important to Alan Ritchson.
You just do what normal people do. Just tune it out.
He does have really bad timing, though.
Yeah. No, see, it's not bad timing. It's the press that hates them. The press, that's what I think it is. I think the press goes into these interviews and they kind of like how they say that politicians wanted to be actors, but they're ugly, so they go into politics instead. Journalists wanted to be actors, but weren't even capable of becoming politicians. So they hate the actors deep down. And then they're like how did let me tee up this question that will ruin your show's launch.
Right. This journalist at GQ somehow found out that Matt Gaetz and Alan Ritchson went to high school together. Like, how did they know that?
That is
How's that
really
even
funny. How does that come up?
I mean, that's the real investigative journalist.
All right. All right, so let's move on. What would you like to see, cringe or cute of the day?
The cringe is really bad, so how about you decide?
Okay. All right, we'll start with the cringe then. We'll start with the cringe if that is in fact the case.
It's really bad.
Really bad?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to do cringe of the day first here. There it is. Do you want to give anybody like a...
Well, that's the caption right there. She says she's making
$500
$500
a day.
a day doing this.
Okay.
And you'll see.
Just ate some sushi, and here's the empty box.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
I ate the whole roll in like under 1 minute.
I wish you did it in my...
And the chopsticks?
Oh my God.
Do you know what that is?
It's your hair clip.
What do you think I use it for?
Your hair. Your beautiful, perfect hair.
Yeah, you're right.
That's amazing.
Look at this.
I wish it was up like
Sing me Jingle Bells. Be a good boy.
jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Wait, what if he doesn't know the words?
I don't know.
He forgot the words.
I don't know.
I just ate.
I really want to believe
Wait.
that it's fake, but it's probably real.
What is the fetish? If so, the top comment says, "What fetish even is this?"
Looking at the box that used to have sushi in it because she ate out of it. I don't like. That's like
I want to believe it's real. I don't want to believe it's fake.
he's not even looking at her.
Yep. Well, okay then.
Yeah, but I think it's real. I think that there are actually people like this.
Okay.
Sadly.
All right, let's do cute of the day. Clean
Yeah,
ourselves
that was
off
pretty
here.
bad, right? I
Clean
was
ourselves
right.
off.
It was bad.
All right, Cookie Don, I got 2 from you today. It says, here's a big bunny rabbit who tears up the yard.
He's a menace.
That's
but
okay.
cute.
A cute menace.
Very cute.
One more. You are getting sleepy. Yes, the kitty is getting sleepy.
Slow blinks.
It's very creepy.
You love to see it.
And one more. This one's from Haley. It says, my sons Frank and Alex. Alex is big and greedy, and Frank is crazy and slender. They complement each other quite
Aw.
nicely.
Whoa, I love it. They're so chunky.
We would love if Chloe and Mocha could hang out like that, but
Right?
they basically what happens is Chloe and Mocha walk by each other, and Mocha walks with her head down, and Chloe's just looking. Chloe's like, "Give me a reason."
Chloe is the ringleader.
Chloe's
I'm
like,
guessing.
"Give me a reason," and I'm like, "Hey, stop that."
She's a bully.
She is.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of a bully. So when Mocha was not feeling well, when we had to take Mocha to the vet recently, and she was like walking around, we could tell something was wrong. And at one point, Olivia goes to the kitchen to call the vet. I go and I'm like putting on, like, I'm getting dressed because now it's like 10:30 at night and we have to go to the ER. And I come back outside and she's like, leave Chloe be. She's going to check and make sure she's okay. I'm like, Apparently in the past this is true. Chloe would grow concerned if Mocha wasn't acting right.
That's cute.
Well, that's not what happened here, because Chloe walks up to Mocha and Mocha's just kind of like this, and Chloe's like, ah! And I'm like, Chloe, get away from her. Get away from her. But in the past, Chloe's been very protective. Like, they don't get along,
sweet.
but when one of them's not well, they can tell.
That's really sweet. I like that.
And
She
in the
pretends
chat,
that she's
Yesh says, Brett, show us your hair clip. I won't. Sorry, not for free.
Nah.
Not for free, bro.
Nah, we gonna get 10 crisis parties before you see hair clips.
Any hair clip's going to cost you at least 10 bands. Okay. I guess that'd be one band. All right.
Right.
Let's go ahead and get started then.
Yes. Amazon purchased MGM for $8.5 billion, but they did not have creative control of James Bond itself until now, after spending an extra $1 billion. And nobody expected this because Barbara Broccoli was so attached to this franchise and seemingly behind the scenes so dedicated to maintaining creative control and making sure that they weren't going to hijack this character. But I guess enough struggle and enough money was going to make her relent, and she has now stepped back.
Do you remember
Amazon has exclusive control over this character now.
Do you remember the part of they talked during an interview where they did a meeting with with Amazon executives in Barbara Broccoli, and one of the Amazon executives says, "I don't think James Bond is a hero."
Yeah, we talked about that not
Mm-hmm.
even that long ago. It was a report about what was going on behind the scenes as Amazon was in a struggle for writing a script that essentially was satisfactory to Barbara Broccoli, and she did not like what they had in mind.
I'm wondering if they were just like, let's just make her life hell until she sells.
I mean, I believe it.
Like,
yeah.
there's probably a memo at Amazon HQ. It says, "Create hell till sell. Create hell till she sells" for Barbara Broccoli and
hell till she
Michael
sells,
G.
and
Wilson.
she ended up selling.
And she sold.
Well, she is still a co-owner, but does not have creative license on anything they do with James Bond going forward.
That was reported by Deadline that Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli ceded their creative control, and they shelled out an astonishing $1 billion, all so that Jeff Bezos can then tweet to the public, "Who do you think should play James Bond?" We'll get into that, but the biggest concern you should have for this, guys, right now is that they're gonna cinematic universe all this shit. And that's the last thing we want, because you know what's gonna happen here, right? So we have this discussion pretty regularly where I'm like, look, there's a balance between the creatives and the people in charge, right? I get annoyed when the creatives get mad at the executives because they want basically to be the pores who say, give me all the money and give me all the control. Well, that's not feasible. Most of these companies have larger ideas for what they want to do with their IP, which is why barely anything gets through anymore unless it's connected to some larger piece of intellectual property. But the problem is that James Bond was a movie event every couple of years. It was not designed to be content. It was not, which is why I had a problem when the first thing they announced when Amazon purchased it was a reality TV show. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? But the point is
competition for who can like use the gadgets.
I don't want to see a Moneypenny spinoff. I don't want to see a Q spinoff. I don't want to see a prequel and how M got to be M. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see James Bond drinking martinis, using women, and then saving the day. Say it with me. Drink martinis, use women, save the day. They can do this.
Drinking martinis, using women, saving the day.
They can do this. You don't need to do the spin-offs. You can do a movie every couple of years and still make it worth your while. And the best way you can do that is, first of all, it could give you more legitimacy if you actually release these in theaters. I think that's the biggest concern here, is that Amazon's going to want to make these Amazon exclusives, which I don't think that's what they'll do. It's not just Amazon Studios, it's Amazon MGM. But they can release these movies in theaters every couple of years. If you get the casting right and you don't screw this up, you can make a lot of money at the box office, and then you get your 90-day window at the theaters, and then it goes to Amazon for pay VOD, and then eventually to Amazon as an exclusive Amazon release on your streaming service. You can make money with James Bond. You can.
But if they are smart about it, right? And as soon as Jeff Bezos posted this on X, asking the people who they want to play the next James Bond, his comments got flooded with Henry Cavill. Everyone was suggesting Henry Cavill. And actually, the director of Casino Royale addressed this before, saying that Henry Cavill was almost the runner-up to Daniel Craig, but he was too young at the time. Well, now they're saying he's too old, and just enough time has passed where it's sadly not going to work out if he wants to have a normal length run.
That was my number one critique of the casting idea of Idris Elba, more than anything, more even than just the fact that he is not a white British person, but a black British person, was that he was too old. I think Idris Elba would make a fantastic Bond villain. He's kind of got his own thing going with the Luther series, which they're trying to turn into like a spy franchise. It was like a psychological crime thriller. with a humanist element when it was a TV show, but then they made Luther, what was it, like Fallen Sun or Rising Sun or something Sun. It was a Netflix movie, and they definitely turned it into like a spy franchise. He's got his own thing going. Idris Elba is actually probably too big of a name to be James Bond anyways. I would rather they go with somebody new. Yes, I would. I like the Henry Cavill casting idea.
It's not a coveted role like that?
No, I want it to be, I want the actor to build their name off of the, so a lot of times what it is that if you have a large library of work, right? If we put Tom Hardy in there or we put Henry Cavill in there, you're going to see all their other roles as well as they try to fit into the character. I would like to see a lesser known actor build their reputation off a great run as James Bond. Yes,
No one likes your take.
Daniel Craig was known before James Bond, but he gained infinitely more credibility after playing James Bond.
No, everyone is saying it has to be Cavill. They disagree with you, Brett. You're being contrarian. You're
They're
being
wrong.
that one guy who doesn't want Henry Cavill as James Bond. I honestly think if they want money, they should just go with Cavill. Like, just do it. It doesn't matter if you can't make as many movies as you normally would have planned. Just do the thing that people want you to do. Cast Henry Cavill. It's so simple. And like you said, have Henry Cavill drink martinis, use women, and save the day. It could be so successful.
There is,
and it doesn't matter. Just make like 3 movies instead of 5. Whatever. It's fine.
And my point here is I'm talking about the traditional formula, which is what they're not looking for 2 movies. They're looking for 15 years of this dude's life. And Henry Cavill is what? He's older than me.
Doesn't matter. They're trying to make money. Make 3 Henry Cavill James Bond movies and call it a day.
And remember, but here's the thing. Henry Cavill, whether we're talking about Warhammer, which is already a point of contention, not just between him and Amazon, but or it's between him and Amazon. He's also doing Highlander right now. So when does it free up his schedule for all of that stuff? If you're not careful, what's going to happen is like, well, we won't give you him as Bond, but in 5 years we'll give you him as M. You're going to be screwed.
But look, if
they're
you're
going to relegate
talking
him to a side role.
If you're talking about giving the people what they want, and I assume Jeff Bezos is checking his notifications on X, it should be Cavill. It should be. It doesn't matter with all these practical concerns about how long he'll be able to play the role. Just when he gets too old, stop making the movies. It's so simple.
There's a 20 there.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I've heard that one of the final meetings between Broccoli and Amazon was virtually indistinguishable from an actually funny SNL skit, with the Amazon folks looking like clueless nitwits. Nitwits, you don't hear that
And
much.
another 20 from Uncompetitive says Dan Stevens, Downton Abbey, and Legion to be younger James Bond. I still like the Aaron Taylor Johnson casting idea. I do.
But look, everyone wants Henry Cavill, though. So I feel like we're overcomplicating this.
So I'm going to read.
Am I
some of
wrong?
these. No, you're not.
We're overcomplicating it.
Look, I'm
just make
purely
a Henry
speaking-
Cavill James Bond trilogy.
Trilogy. Okay.
Do it.
Okay. Here's
Easy.
This one says the formula to revive classic Bond is simple. Cast Cavill. Make it a 60s or 70s period piece. That is an interesting idea of making it a period piece. Film 100% practical effects. Devote silly budget to finding and casting a completely unknown but extremely hot brown-haired actress from a European country. Allow Cavill to be a ruthless male chauvinist. Like, really let him get his Connery bag. Source the
Connery
score
bag?
exclusively from GoldenEye and 64.
If they let Henry Cavill smack a bitch, I would be shocked. But
Here's some of the other. I'm just going to read some of these other takes. Barbara Broccoli understood the character and had a fantastic instinct for casting and pushed for Daniel Craig despite a lot of resistance. Every day, Twitter is flooded with terrible casting suggestions by people who do not get it. There was a big critique of casting Daniel Craig simply because he was like a light brown hair. He was like blondish rather than dark haired. He also had a more weathered face than the likes of like a Pierce Brosnan did. This is what Daniel Craig said about this. He says, my respect, admiration, and love for Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson remain constant and undiminished. Whatever venture Barbara goes on to do, I know they will be spectacular, and I hope I can be part of them. What's funny is there's some revisionist history, because every time after like Skyfall, they would say, like, are you going to do another James Bond movie? And then Daniel Craig goes, I would rather die than make another James Bond movie. And he would just keep coming back for more. It's like they would just back up the money truck, the Brinks money truck to his house. So there's some revisionist history there. Joe Russo says this is the Joe Russo of Twitter, not Joe Russo of the Russo brothers. It's kind of sad to see the last family-owned movie franchise handed over to the suits, and I'm sure Amazon MGM is salivating, but don't cinematic universe James Bond. It's one of our last great theatrical events. Don't dilute it with a plethora of streaming spinoffs. Yeah, at least in the past, when they talked about doing spinoffs, when they were going to do the Jinx spinoff from Die Another Day, that was with Halle Berry. That was at least going to be a movie spinoff and not like a television series. This is Matthew Marsden. He says, controversial take, the James Bond franchise was going woke. If the showrunner of Reacher was put in charge of it, made Bond a womanizing, violent, hard-drinking badass, they would save the franchise. Yes, do that with Cavill is what they're saying.
Well, here's my premonition. I think that Jeff Bezos was only asking people who should play the next Bond because he himself wants to play the next Bond.
See, but I think he wants to be
He wants to be Jeff Bond. I mean...
Bonzos.
Lauren Sanchez, I think she could really make it happen. I mean, I think that she could make a great Bond girl. And clearly Jeff Bezos has some fantasies that he wants to fulfill with this character. Yeah. I want to see it. I want to see Jeff Bezos play James Bond.
Disparu says, Broccoli had so many awful comments about James Bond, I don't think Amazon can be worse than her. They'll just make more stuff that's awful in a shorter time. He picked up something. He says, Bond's been evolving along with all the other men in the world, says Broccoli. Some have just gotten there more quickly than others. And then what was the other one? The decision left about the $80 million budget says that decision left Broccoli incensed. One of her main goals as a steward of 007 has been to shake off some of the chauvinism that characterized Bond's appearances in the novels and early films. With Craig the lead, Bond has matured. He's not just engaged in one-night stands, though he's had his fair share of those. He fell in love with Ava Green's Vesperland. Yeah, and that was unique at the time, but hindsight being 2020. I didn't like it. I liked it.
I thought one night stands were feminist, so I'm confused.
I don't know.
I thought that
conflicting messages.
I thought there was something empowering about hooking up with women for one night and never speaking to them again. I thought that empowered women.
I like this one. It says it's talking about corporations buying these franchises. It says Terminator, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, 007. Adding Terminator there is a deep cut. They're forgetting that's a Warner Brothers franchise.
Get rid of Rings of Power. Just completely give up on that one.
I do want
use Henry Cavill for a few James Bond movies.
And I do want to point out, look, there is some. This is why I don't necessarily think it's the greatest idea for Amazon. I have a lot of faith for Amazon with their dad TV when it's franchises that don't have the cultural cachet that James Bond does. So we're talking about Jack Ryan. Look, those book series are very popular with dads and older men. It's not designed to be translated for younger audiences. It has its audience. It understands that. The same was true of The Terminal List and Bosch and Reacher. They did very, very well with those because they weren't trying to attract a younger audience or turn them into expansive franchises that went into other demographics than the dads that are over that 18 to 49 demographic. Now we can talk about Rings of Power, Citadel, or even worse, what they did with Without Remorse with Michael B. Jordan, which was awful. Their track record is good in some things, not good in others, but the cultural relevance and the longevity of James Bond makes me think that they're going to try to tinker with it and make it something that it's not.
We have a 20 from Jose Quintana. Happy Friday, Optical Overlord and Ghost Empress. Brett, I do agree with Cavill being the top choice for the new Bond. Too bad that Elba aged out. What about the new Moneypenny? Wait a minute. What about the Empress? I don't think I have what it takes to be on screen, but did Idris Elba age out or did Henry Cavill age out?
I think he's saying Idris Elba aged out.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
That Elba's aged out?
That Henry Cavill is too old to play it.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
But most people who object to it are saying that.
I admit that I'm kind of stuck in the idea that when you hire that actor that they're going to be on there for 5 films, but there's nothing wrong with trying to, I mean, thinking of it as a trilogy is a great way to put it. And that allows you to get away from the meandering nature of a franchise and turn it into a beginning, middle, and an end.
Right.
And that's a good idea. In that case, I would support that idea.
Jeff Bezos should listen to me.
But you're also right that it's too easy and it's too simple. And they probably
want to make everything so complicated and stupid and convoluted. Like, why? Just do the thing that people want you to do. You clearly don't care about the franchise itself. Like, it's not like it has a special place in your heart. Just do it the way that people want. Why do they need to make this into rocket science?
It is not rocket science.
Just cast Cavill. It'll make so much money.
We would have to wait and see. It would be great to. I would be interested to see what their business strategy for it is going to be going forward. You know, I would be more worried that they would release it without a long theatrical window, and it would be one of those things where it's like on streaming a couple of months later. I don't think they would do that. They might do that with lesser known franchises, but it better get a full theatrical run, and they better put it into it. And if you can, get Martin Campbell to direct, because remember, Martin Campbell didn't just direct Casino Royale, launching the James Bond franchise for Daniel Craig. He also directed GoldenEye, launching the franchise for Pierce Brosnan. He knows how to launch a Bond franchise. So go ahead and do that, guys. All right.
We have a 20 from DCNC. Born Identity fixed the stagnated Bond.
Yes, that is true, but then everybody got motion sick from all the shaky cam. No more shaky cam. Actually, you know what? Now it might be time to return to shaky cam, because now, you know, with the rise of John Wick and really, really, really visually appealing action scenes, somebody's going to have to be like, well, you know what? Let's make a bunch of shaky cam movies, because nobody's doing that enough
Shaky
anymore.
cam Bond?
I don't want that. I mean, one of the highlights of Bond, at least as I think about it, is very, very classic filmmaking, and it's not the camera going like this, looking like somebody's having a seizure every time somebody throws a punch.
Shane H. Wilder said, Happy Friday, Brett and Mary. Sorry you had to get a dose of the Phil Elad tax argument. Brett, if you're on tonight, it will be your turn, LOL.
Oh, and yes, that is true. I do think,
into it.
Look, Christopher Nolan has always wanted to do James Bond. You know,
it
might be time.
A Christopher Nolan directed, Henry Cavill starred James Bond trilogy.
Let Jonathan Nolan write, and Christopher Nolan knows how to do a trilogy. He did a Batman trilogy. You know, when he's done casting literally everyone in the Odyssey, we'll have to wait and see, because pretty much if you're an actor who isn't in the Odyssey, you know who hates you, because everyone's in the Odyssey now.
Yeah, it's a who's who of Hollywood.
No, it's not even that. It's like a bunch of people, like not even all of them are all that name-worthy.
I mean, yeah, I guess if Ellen Page is in it, Elliot Page is in it, then I don't know what they're doing. Brian Bledsoe said, non-white, gender-fluid, disabled, feminist, communist, furry Jane Bond coming soon on Amazon. Is this likely?
No. So one of my favorite things to start doing now is I go to either ChatGPT or Grok, and I say, recast this show for 2025. And I had it recast Burn Notice, and it suggested Dev Patel for Michael Weston. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got Dev Patel to play James Bond.
No, just no.
They're going to do it.
No Control said, find a woman that looks at you the way Mary does when she is dunking on Jaden Smith. Yeah. It truly brings a warmth to my heart. Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, Mary's passion projects, collecting OnlyFans horror stories and dunking on Jaden Smith. It's a thankless job, but someone has to do
Somebody's got to do it.
Someone has to wade through these trenches.
Do one
Bender
more.
McSimpson said, Happy Friday to my 2 favorite journalists. I always enjoy hearing and seeing you both on IRL.
I don't know why you would slander me like that.
Yeah.
With such a slur.
Shane stood up for us. He said, Bender, why you gotta insult Brett and Mary like that? Journalist is a 4-letter word in this house. Yeah, we don't accept that as a compliment, but we understand your heart was in the right place.
All right, let's hold off on the rest, and we will come back.
Last year, an OnlyFans star who goes by the stage name Annie Knight made a pledge to sleep with at least 600 men in 2024.
Classy.
Yes, and after breaking that record and setting that milestone for herself, she has now decided that it is time to settle down and find love. So she's going to make herself turn from a hoe into a housewife. And that is just, you know what? That's great. You can totally do that. I'm sure there are plenty of guys these days.
They will.
Who absolutely will not have any reservations about dating or marrying you because of your sexual history. Because we live in the age of the simp.
Don't get it twisted. There will be some dude, and he will not be poor. He will be wealthy. He will be rich, and he will marry her. I guarantee
Well, I mean,
it.
she herself, I'm sure, is incredibly wealthy off of her OnlyFans.
Yeah, but she's not looking
She's not going to
she's
just
not
date
dating
a
down.
random, like a random middle-class guy. Her standards are very high, I assume. We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. Here's a new raw info source for you folks, a free email newsletter called The Dailies. It's a quick read buffet of Hollywood streaming and TV news plus data. Might be too inside baseball, but worth checking out.
It's called The Dailies. Thank you.
Brett's going to write that down. Write that down. So
Pull that up, Jamie.
Annie Knight did an interview with the New York Post to talk about her new search for love. She is known now as Australia's most sexually active, promiscuous woman.
Well, when it
not just the country, but the continent.
Any guy that wants to, make her happy has had some stiff competition, so this is not going to be easy for her.
Right. So now she has gone on one date in the last 2 years and wants that to change. In 2025, however, she has a busy schedule because she is pledged to sleep with 1,000 men, hopefully with half of them being virgins. This is her really strange goal. It's
like a corporate office giving you their bullet points for what they want to achieve in the new year.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
She's trend forecasting. This is something that both Annie Knight and Bonnie Blue from the UK have set out to do. They want to sleep with as many barely legal virgin teenage boys as they possibly can during what Australians call Schoolies Week. I wasn't completely aware of what this is, but let me explain. Schoolies, also known as Leavers Week in Australia, is an Australian tradition where high school graduates celebrate the end of their final exams in late November and early December. So this is like the summer for them over on the land down under. This week-long holiday is seen as a final party with schoolmates before they go their separate ways. They typically gather in popular destinations like the Gold Coast, and they also go internationally to Bali, Fiji, and other places. So this is basically a target. This is a breeding ground for OnlyFans content, and she aims to sleep with hundreds of teenage boys who just graduated high school. Bonnie Blue actually called this an effort to educate the youth on sex. This is actually a sex education program. So she's doing some philanthropy, actually.
Yeah.
Something good for society.
Good deeds.
Right. Yeah, they're always looking for ways to help people. So I don't know how Annie Knight is going to juggle her new search for a husband along with her effort to sleep with 1,000 men in a year.
I mean, I really think that Bonnie Blue it's that meme of the guy looking down like this. He's looking down on her. In a year, pathetic.
Yeah.
Bonnie Blue.
Try 24 hours.
Yeah.
But here, Annie Knight said, I'm looking for someone loyal, non-judgmental. That one is important. Accepting of my job. That one is also important. Someone who makes me laugh. Looks aren't as important, but obviously I need to be physically attracted to them. I think now's the right time because I've set myself up. I'm still doing my challenges, but I'm 28 and I have this amazing life and I'd love to have someone to share it with.
Well, I mean, with him and a lot of other people.
She said, I'm also a lot more confident than I was 2 years ago. and I've really discovered myself in this journey. So I feel ready to give love to someone else.
Okay, if you're not going to, if the physicality of your relationship isn't something that is exclusively shared between the two of you, then what is it really?
Then what
that
do
you're
you
sharing?
have exclusively?
What exactly are you exclusive? Is it money? Because I don't think you're going to be dating a poor dude who's going to use you for your money. I think the dude that you're going to end up finding is going to be as well-to-do as you are. So I don't know what it is that you're. Is it like? Are you going out to do really lame Instagram pictures in front of beach sunsets?
Yeah, I'm imagining that if her OnlyFans subscribers found out that she settled down with a man, they would no longer be interested in her content because they have a delusion that she is available to them. And as simps, they have this delusional idea that maybe one day they could have a chance with her. So if they found out that she was in a serious committed relationship on the side, that would kind of ruin their fantasy.
Yeah.
So I'm actually surprised that she would speak so openly about this. And it's funny that she said that she's been on a journey of self-discovery. Like, you found yourself at the bottom of
A used condom wrapper.
a used condom, essentially.
Yeah.
This is not a way to get to know yourself or anybody else. Actually, I mean, what I have always been advised by wise women who know from just life experience and their own moral standards, what I've always been told is that, you know, as soon as you sleep with a guy that you're dating who hasn't committed to you, that's when he stops getting to know you. So this is completely counterintuitive, but I doubt anyone has made such a wild suggestion to her.
Is this going to be one of those things where you hear this? There's like she's gonna expect the guy she's dating to wait.
Right. Yeah. Right. Every time. Like, it's difficult to say that, like, okay, there are some people who say if you have slept with anyone in the past, then you have no, I guess it would say, right to expect the next guy to wait until marriage or maybe some other milestone that's kind of arbitrary. I mean, I disagree with that because it's about a deeper moral principle than fairness, you know? And people are kind of not able to comprehend the call to chastity after you have lived in a way that you're ashamed of.
Yeah.
Like, I do think that's important, and I do think that someone who hasn't waited in the past but is waiting now has every right for that to be their standard. Like, it's your standard. So find someone who shares your standard. And that's rare, certainly, but it's out there. But for her to be saying this and not intending in any way to not sleep with strangers anymore while in a relationship is laughable, laughably delusional.
Is it supposed to be about like the separation of her work? She's like, look, it's my work. It's different. It's,
right,
exactly. It's like the most extreme version of the actors who you know, do sex scenes in their work, where you know, it's depending on your level of religious conviction, you might see that as a problem. But most people who aren't religious are like, okay, I get it. They're in front of a director. It's not actually sex. Whatever. They go home. They're probably married to another actor who also sees things in the same way that they do. Whatever. This is that taken to the most extreme conclusion.
Yeah,
and
but I think that's insane too.
Yeah, I mean, like there are people who work in these industries that are married, but they're usually married to other people that work in the industry.
Other porn stars. Yeah. Right, but there's, in my opinion, no way of checking your feelings at the door, letting like thousands of men use your body. Like, that's just not a real thing. You're lying to yourself if you say so. She told the Post that she's gone out with a real estate agent. I doubt he makes as much money as her. And she said she hated to add to the stereotype, but labeled him a wanker. He thought he was so self-important.
Wait, do we actually know that's what he said?
The whole time. He was not interested in hearing about me at all. He was okay with my job, but they always say they're okay with my job. So a lot of these men, according to her, lie and say that they're comfortable with her doing OnlyFans, but later on it comes out they were hoping for her to quit for them, which is insane.
That, or they're being even more duplicitous and they just want to sleep with her and then leave. And
yeah, either one.
Yeah.
But I can imagine there are a lot of men who think like maybe she'll quit on account of me.
Yeah.
And wanting to commit to me. But
not
that's
at her
not
pay scale.
No. And it's also like doing yourself a disservice, right?
Yep. It might be a weird form of egotism to believe that for some reason.
Oh yeah,
that
like the whole "I can fix her" or "I can change him" mentality does come from a need for validation.
Yeah.
Like something you're doing to service your own ego.
Yeah.
She says every date she's been on in the last 4 years have seemed supportive of her line of work until they ghost her. She said, I can't believe how many bad experiences I've had with dating. The guy who expected me to pay because I earned more money than him.
Hey, we live in an equal society now, ladies. So
Annie
you know
Knight
what?
said that even asking to split the bill on a first date is a loser move, and people should take her to get ice cream if they can't afford dinner. She also said that the real estate agent she mentioned wanted to see her again, and it was likely because she's a good listener. I listened to him the whole time and didn't interrupt, which I'm sure he loved. I'm sure other girls would have interrupted him and left because it was basically just a monologue. Then she's also getting ready for another date who sounds like a surfer. And she isn't discounting people based on their vibe or their profession. Wanted to keep an open mind. They're going to need to have a very open mind to tolerate her profession, though. I don't think that we should expect any guy to be okay with that.
They're not even just talking about somebody who it's weird to say, but there's actually even levels to this. Like, we're not talking about somebody that just posted some pictures of themselves. We're talking about
this is real life stuff.
Marathon whoring.
Right.
Like 600 people in a year, you know, and then
there's no way your brain is coming
and then they're
back
going to
from
turn
that.
it on you and say, well, you're just not progressive enough. No. Some people are just going to be rightly weirded out by it because it's not normal. You can pretend it's normal, but it's not.
What they say is you're not secure in your masculinity if you can't tolerate basically being in an open relationship. And fortunately, I think that the tide is turning against this whole polyamory nonsense and open relationship bullshit. Most people are willing to call themselves polyphobic now, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's been a new development. But yeah, I think that this woman is in for a rude awakening in the long run. It may not be soon because she's still making bank, but
well, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to stop being financially.
You're gonna have to keep finding new novel ways to compete in this business, and
oddly enough, they're only
go to
coming
further extremes.
They're only, you know, it only seems to be in number. Like, that seems to be the only thing they can think of is more.
Mm-hmm.
There was a debate going on the other day where Pokimane was talking about how it was annoying that all the biggest streamers are men. And then people pointed to the fact that Kai Cenat released like this high production quality advertisement of him as Batman.
Yeah.
To announce his most recent stream group.
Thank you. So they're saying he's just putting more effort in.
He puts it. Him and I Show Speed put in more work.
Yeah.
They work hard. That's just the way it is. You got to be more creative.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to find some new way beyond just more whoring. You gotta lean into creative whoring.
Ideally, we would not be whoring at all. How about no whoring?
Hey, I'm operating under the premise that she doesn't want to switch professions, so I'm just trying to give more advice.
I mean, I cannot imagine the psychological
Think smarter,
toll.
not longer.
Like, you cannot really confront what you've done after sleeping with 600 or 1,000 men. Like, that is psychologically scarring.
I'm with, okay, so Dad Bod Baboon says, so she wants a traditional chivalrous man, but is okay with being anything but a traditional woman. Yes, the
Yeah.
concept of the man paying for the date is an old school form of chivalry and courtship, you know, in the West.
Well, I mean, even the concept of going out on a date to
Yes.
a restaurant and buying a meal there, it's actually very new. Like, that in and of itself is new. So we're talking about things that were normal in the 20th century up until the 90s.
She's not worth however many goats she would normally get when she was younger.
Yeah, it's sad. She doesn't really understand that there's a huge dissonance in what she's saying. But it's almost endearing that she still wants a traditional relationship in some sense of the word.
I don't see it as endearing. I see it as highly delusional
It
and
is
entitled.
delusional. It is delusional.
It's
but
entitled
I
and delusional. It's not endearing.
think the heart wants what it wants is what I'm trying to say.
Then,
you know.
well, the hard part of that is like, yes, the heart wants what it wants, but one must also understand that how we behave informs what we're liable to get. And there's no connection being made there from them.
You can't take back what you've done when it's so public, unfortunately.
All right, let's go to Super Chats.
No Control said, Mary doing the CP dance without breaking conversation is the highlight of my day. What is the CP dance?
Crisis Party Dance.
Oh, okay. I was like worried for a second there. Shane H. Wilder said, I love Reacher and will still watch even though I think Alan can be an asshat. He's a good actor, but as you said, he is a paradoxical woke Christian. He's also
find that to be
paradoxically hot and woke.
He's got that going for him.
What's that about?
I mean, because it's his
He
whole
doesn't even
brand.
have a septum piercing.
But I'm saying that that's his whole brand, though.
Yeah.
It's not just being an actor. It's being
I'm the hot, buff, woke guy.
the overtly, like it's literally 80% of the. There's this scene in episode 3 at the very start. By the way, I think they're doing a much better job. If you guys are watching the show, there's this new character named Duffy. She's a DEA agent that sends him undercover. They're doing a much better job of building up like the back and forth between him than they did with Dixon in season 2, played by Serinda Swan, because they kind of relied in season 2 on the fact that the characters have like history together, and then some like flashbacks peppered in here and there, and you're supposed to feel a connection between these two that's not really there because it's manufactured. They're doing a much better version of this because the character of Duffy is like this. I guess she's from the Bronx, and she's got this. She's got the accent. She's got the attitude. The actress is from the UK, which means she's actually doing a really good job. But she's nothing like that. And there's this part in episode 3 where, again, they find another reason for him to not be wearing clothes, which they just see. Literally, you could imagine they went into the writer's room and they were like, okay, let's
just so
how do we get
uncomfortable
him
at a
out of his
certain
clothes?
point.
And he's like walking to her with like no clothes on, and she just goes, fuck me. And it's a double entendre because it's more of an exasperation, but it means what you think it means. But they're building to that. There was also, I meant to talk about this in the segment, but there was some puritanical articles written before the release of this about how him having a different female love interest in every season is problematic, you know, because the women are being treated as disposable. Yes, it's called Reacher. It's not called Reacher in Friends. It's not called Reacher in Women. It's called Reacher.
in Friends.
It's just about him, and if that means that there are female love interests that get introduced each season, it's not like he treats them poorly. You know, that's the puritanical crap they're going to have to deal with when James Bond comes back. They're going to have to be like, oh, but he should have a love interest. It's the same woman in all the movies. No, it's a male power fantasy. Save the day, have sex with the women, drink martinis, and go on about your business.
Shane H. Wilder said, cringy gooners, make it stop, make it stop. It's okay. It's over now. DCNC said, drinking martinis, using women, saving the day. Repeat after me. William Trader
do one more.
said, that's the freak show that would buy her fart in a jar. When she goes missing, we know whose basement she's in.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll have to.
Yeah, she's playing with fire.
Yep.
It's not safe out there.
All right, so let's move on. It's time for Mary's favorite pastime.
I am going to just hop up on my soapbox right now just to make fun of Jaden Smith. And I think he's fair game because he's not a kid anymore. This guy is 26, going on 27. And nonetheless, he is still the most insufferable, self-deluded Nepo baby I think that I've ever seen. He is so high on nepotism. He just sounds like he's on psychedelics all the time. Everything he says makes zero sense to any normal person. But as I said in a YouTube short that we posted yesterday, he is someone who has been raised around adults calling him a genius his entire life. And he actually started believing them. So let's just hear from the genius mind of Jaden Smith why he is incapable of relating to other people his age, other Gen Zers.
This one here?
Mm-hmm.
I go around sometimes and I hang out with other people that are my age, and they're just kind of just selfie. I'm just like, dude, like, oh my God, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
Yeah, bro.
We need to talk about the political and economic state of the world right now.
Bro.
Like,
You don't get it.
You're
We're
just, like,
falling
taking
into
selfies.
fascism. You're just, let me get this straight. You're going to watch Captain America when there's a genocide going on in Gaza?
It's literally that.
You're
but, like,
watching
5 years
Reacher
early.
season 3 when there's a femicide going on in the Congo? I want to know what you think about geopolitics.
Yeah. You know, he's someone who's great at talking about how he wants to talk about politics and the economic state of the world right now, but never actually talks about the political and economic state of the world right now. He just talks about how he wants to talk about it, and nobody else wants to talk about it because they're dumb and he's smart. And boy, has that been hammered into Jaden Smith over the years, that he is just so special and so smart and nobody can be on his level. In fact, the number one thing that Jaden Smith looks for in a girl he wants to date is intelligence. He's a sapiosexual, according to this interview at least.
Here we go.
For it in a girl.
What do I look for in intelligence? Yeah.
Intelligent, you gotta have smarts.
Because I say
brains,
stuff
ladies.
I say stuff sometimes that like you wouldn't understand unless you were really intelligent. You know what I mean?
All right, he likes deep ladies.
Yeah.
Smart
like,
girls.
You know, I was reading The Alchemist the other day and this is really funny, and they'd be like, oh, I don't know what that is, and it's kind of like,
it's a good book.
That sucks.
Very. What do you?
Like, these girls just aren't on his level type shit.
I mean, it would have been funny if he's like, she got to have a fat ass.
Well, it's funny because everyone he's publicly dated is just a basic, like, Instagram baddie. Like, they're not geniuses.
You know what it was?
Jaden.
He probably saw that picture of Grimes reading the Communist Manifesto and was like, goals.
You know what? Honestly, Jaden Smith and Grimes dating would be kind of iconic. Now that comes to mind. And, you know, more recently, toward the end of 2024, Jaden Smith released an album. And Complex Music was interviewing him about the concept behind this album. I think that we just need to listen to this in its entirety to understand his depth
Here we go.
of artistry.
Long-term effects of young love is really a snapshot of my mental state currently when it comes.
The background music, the ambient sounds. We have a 20 real quick from Jose Quintana. My high school sweetheart and I, #1 summer camp, a canoe ride on a small pond, 2 sneak away date at the Met, 3 double date for the Return of the Jedi release. My point, innocence ruled dating in the 80s. Long live PCC. That sounds sweet.
Okay, I'm sorry, but why does it look like he's wearing motion capture markers on him?
So this is like camo fatigues with fake pearls embellished on top. If you're listening rather than watching, including a bucket hat that's for some reason way too high up on his head.
Did somebody just throw a jar of marbles at him?
I mean, he's very adventurous with his fashion choices as well, historically. I mean, even at the Grammys, he was wearing a house on his head. And he's
Wait, is he
notorious for wearing skirts
Is he
as
Yasuke
well.
in the new Assassin's Creed?
Oh,
Is he
he's a
motion
shoo-in.
capturing for
Yeah,
Assassin's
he's
Creed?
a shoo-in.
comes to trying to be a human and relate with people in the digital age that we live in. The mental landscapes of people are changing, and the psychology of people is changing. Honestly, I just wanted to make it because I'm sad, and it's my sadness that connects me with my community and my fans. I'm hoping that I can leave enough information behind for psychologists of the future to look back and be like, man, what was really wrong with this guy? Like, there's some serious stuff that's wrong with him. Like, what is it?
Why is it important to be able to cry?
I just think that you'll just fill up with water if you don't. I think people will just fill up with water and drown from the inside. I think that it's important to cry just to get water out of your body. 2024, case.
So yeah, instead of peeing, you're actually supposed to cry to expel water from your body, according to Jaden Smith.
Well, I've
one of
heard
his many
that,
shining
look,
philosophical
I understand
takes.
that, you know, it's a political stance that your body being 70% water is controversial, because when you get to be 75% water, you fall into fascism. So you need to expel at least 5% of the water from your body to prevent yourself from becoming a fascist dictator. Mussolini was at least 80% water.
We have a 20 from Gordon Shumway. That Jaden Smith clip reminds me of a clip I saw of a corn star being interviewed. She got mad that the interviewer asked about the business. She wanted to be asked about physics or something else. Lady, you're a corn star. Yeah, I mean, Jaden Smith has struggled for a long time to make a name for himself outside of who he's related to.
See, the thing is for the corn star is that question works when you're being interviewed in industry. In industry, it's boring, and they want to hear about the other aspects of your personality because it gives some type of energy to the interview that's, you know, it's novel. But when you're being interviewed by somebody outside of the industry, your business is what's novel to them because it's outside of the norm.
Do you think talent is genetic?
Oh, that's a very, very hard question to ask. I'm more liable to think that maybe in some way, but a lot of times people who are very, very good at something are instilled with very good work ethic, and then they instill that into their kids.
I think that
Tiger Woods' dad, Tiger Woods is as good as he is on natural talent and the fact that he was raised to be an exceptional athlete.
Sure, yeah, exactly. And I think that naturally talented people are more likely to raise their kids in a way that nurtures talents as much as possible, so their kids are more likely to end up in the same industry as them.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people. How many actors are in there?
But
Because
they're never.
Mom was a theater manager, a theater producer, and Dad worked in the industry.
Jaden Smith is clearly not an exceptional person in any regard compared to his parents, but especially his dad. So
look,
he's never gonna be that.
I saw
he's
somebody
always gonna
mentioned-
be the son of someone who is exceptional.
I saw Mighty Rax mention John David. Well, he said, no, it's not. Look at John David Washington. I'm rooting for John David Washington. I really am. I love Denzel Washington, but I'm rooting for John David Washington to succeed. But there's plenty of actors who come from... look at all of the Sheen boys were successful in their own way. Martin Sheen was successful. Emilio Estevez was successful. Charlie Sheen was successful. All of them, but they carved out their own niches in the industry. Like Martin Sheen as what's his name in The West Wing is very different from Charlie Sheen as Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn or whatever his character was from what was his big show? You get my point. And Emilio Estevez is very different from both of them. So, yeah, were they all raised to be actors? Sure, but in their own way.
And they also have connections. And Jaden has made an attempt at a music career, clearly. I don't think that it's worked out very well for him. Willow Smith is actually getting way more success in that field than Jaden.
The Skarsgårds are all very successful.
Yeah, and they were also raised that way.
I think
they're
strong
child actors.
Yeah, thank you. 2.5 Men. Yeah, like there's just a lot of examples of that, and I'm never gonna be mad at some nepo baby who takes the job. If anything, I feel bad for them in a way because then they have to try and look. They might not want.
But you gotta have some humility, though.
They might not want for money, but there is definitely in an industry as wrought with ego as theirs is. It must be torture to have all your needs met, but not be able to have the ego that your parents earned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but you've got to have some humility, and like, I think that, well, there are a lot of issues with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's relationship. To say the least, they have some issues. But one thing clearly that they failed to do is parent their kids in a way that actually prepares them to be adult human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they raised both of their kids to basically think that they are God's gift to the world and everything revolves around them, that they're special, they're geniuses, they're, you know, and yeah, everyone is going to feel that way about their child, but you need to understand that other people are not going to. And that's where you instill some humility and some personal responsibility in your kids.
Can you think
Willow
of
and
any,
Jaden Smith don't seem to have any of that.
Can you think of any examples? This is one of the things where I wish we would have like planned out maybe a discussion around it to talk about some of the celebrities that might be good examples of children, like who raised children with a certain level of humility.
Certainly not Gwyneth Paltrow.
No.
She's intentionally raising her daughter to be entitled. She actually bragged about that. So most of these celebrities do not have the right approach. That's the problem with Nepo babies
Also,
these days.
look, for somebody as deeply insightful and intelligent as Jaden Smith is, I just want to say practically, if that's what you're wearing, it's going to be harder to get people to take you seriously. When you look like somebody threw a jar of marshmallows at you and you're about to start a mocap suit for a video game, they're going to be more focused on what you're wearing and less on your message.
Yeah, I don't know what he was going for with that. I would also like to close out by sharing a few very insightful tweets from Jaden.
Let's go.
From back in the early 2010s. These are still all up, by the way. One from 2013 says, I encourage you all to unfollow me so I can be left with the people who actually appreciate philosophy and poetry. His most famous tweet of all is, how can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real?
Bro.
Groundbreaking
okay,
shit.
so you're getting in... No. Here's the thing. He's getting into... Bro, magnets, how do they work? 4 dudes in a circle smoking weed, asking deeply philosophical questions, okay? It's becoming a meme. That's faux intellectualism.
There's another one. It's your birthday, Mateo said. I didn't respond. Are you not excited to be 15? He asked. Reading my book, I uttered. I turned 15 long ago. Bro. That was cold. Bro is tough.
The funny thing is, I bet you he's accidentally insightful when he's not doing this.
Actually, yes, there were plenty of these tweets that I thought, okay, maybe he was onto something.
We need to get him in touch with Terrence Howard.
One thing he said is school is a tool to brainwash the youth. Okay, you could argue me that for sure. But then he also said education is rebellion. So I'm not sure what to make of that.
I mean, he would have to flesh that argument out.
He also said if everybody in the world dropped out of school, we would have a much more intelligent society.
We need him. Remember Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan? Remember that?
Yeah.
We need him, Terrence Howard, and Neil deGrasse Tyson to start a podcast and solve all our problems.
I almost felt bad for Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan because I was like, maybe you should cut the cameras. Like, this guy is going through something. Like, it's either drugs or a mental breakdown, but I don't think he knows how he sounds to other people right now. That was some crazy shit. But he wasn't quite on Jaden Smith's level.
No.
Like, I feel like Jaden Smith needs to go on the Joe Rogan podcast and really get grilled on his deep and insightful ideas.
Well, it wouldn't even be grilling. It would be just Joe Rogan asking basic questions in response and then not being used to having follow-up questions asked.
I mean, maybe Jaden just got exposed to psychedelics when he was like 11. And ever since, his brain has just been a pan of scrambled eggs.
Pat the plumber says Cat Williams too. No, Cat Williams is awesome. leave Cat Williams out of this.
I never listened to his episode, but I heard that was a little bit crazy as well.
All right, let's now that we've sufficiently dunked on.
I'm satisfied with the amount of dunking that we've gotten today.
Okay,
yeah.
Maybe
I'm not done for good, but we're good.
Let's finish up the super chats, guys. We are almost at a fourth crisis party. Jaden Smith would not approve if we got to a fourth crisis party, which means you should get us to a fourth crisis party.
Right. From Grega with Love said, Aidan Turner, Poldark the Hobbit should be the next Bond. Ian Fleming's James Bond is specifically a white male and shouldn't be race swapped.
I'll have to look into Aidan Turner.
Value in You said, please no more Jeff Bezos Bond talk. He is literally Mr. Six at Six Flags guy. Google if needed.
But the thing is
what does
Jeff,
that mean?
I don't know. Jeff Bezos would make a great Bond villain. I mean, he's kind of the archetype, right? He's bald. He looks kind of vaguely evil. Tech genius.
Lazy eye.
Yeah. I didn't know that until you pointed it out to me.
Oh, he does look like he's some advertising mascot for Six Flags.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see it. We could have a bald Bond.
I think Jeff Bezos could play a great Bond villain who's like shipping nuclear weapons across the world with his evil shipping company as he seeks to take over the world.
With shipping people, he has a human trafficking
It'll be
organization.
called Jungle instead of Amazon.
The Rumbling said, I see Alan Ritchson like the Catholic bishop chick that was berating Trump with their ridiculous woke takes. Also, what kind of Catholic is Alan? You're wrong on both counts because Alan Ritchson is not Catholic.
He's a Christian.
And he's like a mainline Protestant. And then the bishop that you're talking about is also not Catholic. She was like Episcopalian or something.
What does that even mean?
It's an offshoot of the Anglican Church, which was an offshoot of the Catholic Church, not part of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I think those like there's just we have a large demographic of the audience that is religious, so they take for granted just how many people like me who are like, yeah, I don't know what any of that means. Mm-hmm. Like Christian, Catholic, just so you Protestant, like I don't know.
The Catholic Church doesn't have female priests, bishops, anything. Okay. That's not a thing in the Catholic Church, thankfully. Not that John Stewart said Daniel Craig was 38 when he started playing Bond. Cavill will be 42 later this year. Not that big of an age difference, IMO.
It was interesting how at the beginning of Casino Royale, he's playing like he's a new agent. He's just made his first kill and then his second kill and gained his 00 status, and he's already got the receding hairline. You know, Daniel Craig is a traditionally handsome dude, but he does somebody said like when I said weathered earlier, like they said that means ugly. No, it means hard lines in the face. If anything, it's a rare quality these days because most of what you see in Hollywood are people that look overly pampered because life isn't as difficult.
Timothy Chalamet.
And one of the compliments that I had for Reacher is that they've done a really good job in that show of casting fairly weathered looking people in roles where a dude who plays head of security for some evil billionaire isn't going to look like an actor in real life. Mm-hmm. He's just not. He's probably gonna come from some paramilitary background. He's not gonna look like somebody who just got out of a casting call.
The name of the guy who played Daryl Dixon in The Walking Dead.
Norman Reedus. Yeah,
and he has a weathered look.
He does. He is like and then there's another dude who I can never remember. I feel bad for the other dude because there's another dude who looks just like him. And I can, but not the same. But they have the same archetypal look.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Bookstore Thor said Cavill is 41, just Dalton when he played Bond. But Cavill is, I thought he was 42.
But by the time they get to production, he'll be 43 because there's no way this gets fast tracked.
Well, you're right, yeah.
Like he'll be closer to 45.
Get all of it done before he's 50. I'm sure they can do it.
There you go.
There's plenty of money and time in the world. Kenneth Hart said, Fast and the Furious, I know Brett's favorite, Tokyo Drift, because of Mo Ride and his love of NCIS Bayou Edition. Same reason he loves Sling Blade. Mm-hmm.
Ain't got no gas in it.
Is that correct?
I do not Tokyo Drift is not my favorite.
Yeah, I thought so.
He's mentioning that because NCIS New Orleans has Lucas Black in it, who was in Tokyo Drift. I do love NCIS. Okay, no, that's a huge overstatement. I tolerate NCIS New Orleans. It's fine. The first
You were so ready to glaze NCIS New Orleans.
It's fine. The first 3 or 4 seasons are fine, mostly because of the other because of
Do they
Lucas
have
Black.
Cajun accents?
No, not really. I mean, he has his traditional, like the actor Lucas Black says he won't take roles if they ask him to change his accent. He's from Alabama, I think.
So he just does Southern accent.
He just does a Southern accent and everything. And that's not my favorite. The first Fast and the Furious is still my favorite out of all of them. The very first one.
Shane H. Wilder said, Bonnie Blue, I discovered myself in this journey. Yeah, and a lot of desperate simps got to know you in this journey.
It was a long journey.
Yeah.
Lots of deep understanding came from all of that.
Kenneth Hart said that was a Lucas Black joke, bro.
Yes, it was a Lucas Black joke.
Drewish AF of Christendom said, thoughts on Wes Huff / Billy Carson debate, Mary?
Who is Wes Huff?
I don't know. Why are you asking me? Only me? I'll look this up. Let me see. Debate. I have no idea what this is. Yeah, I've never heard of either of these two people. Sorry. If you'd like to explain, I would like to hear. Omega Red fan said, it's all good, man, until they ghost me. Story of our lives. I mean, yeah, I guess that she's just getting repeatedly ghosted. This seems to be a problem for a lot of women.
It's very sad.
Like, who do you think ghosts more, men or women? Because I hear both complain about it equally.
You're gonna hear both people give the same answer for that, or give different answers for that one, right? I don't know. That's a very
also
good
don't
question.
think that ghosting is wrong in all cases. Like, sometimes ghosting is wrong if you've actually gotten to know the person. But if you just went on one date with someone, or like you didn't even go on a date with someone, you just stopped messaging them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not wrong. You actually don't owe them an explanation.
I would prefer you did.
But also, I've never done what I'm talking about. I just think it's fine. You know?
This is one of those things where I don't even care, because the answer is going to be weaponized by both sides that are both going to say that the other side is worse.
Right, exactly.
Like, I know I have to be interested in that debate because of my job, but I'm not
men
interested
complain
in that
about
debate.
getting ghosted before they even go on a date, or like before they sleep with a woman. Women always complain about getting ghosted directly after they sleep with the guy. So the guy gets what he wants and then never speaks to them again. But that's kind of why you should learn from your behavior not to repeat that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, don't sleep with him.
They don't look alike, but this is the guy that I always think looks like Norman Reedus. Like a cleaner cut
He
version.
looks like if Norman Reedus and Alan Ritchson had a love child.
It's a guy named Rodney Rowland.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's a very, very reliable television actor. But
We have a 20 from Pat the Plumber. I haven't started Reacher, but I'm disappointed already at the direction. I wish they'd go back to Small Town Antics. Those are the best Reacher books. Enjoy the weekend, everyone.
pretty much everything in this new season is taking place in Maine. Like, in fact, I would go a step farther and say that they're filming, and I have no idea if this was built sets, but a great majority of this show is taking place at this large manor, this large like estate property. And there's some very, very well done drone footage it's so typical nowadays that it's just like it's all the same sterilized drone shot that might be drone, might just be done CGI. I don't know. There's some ones of him like walking down a cliffside that I can definitely tell he was not there for. Like, it's definitely like they filmed some helicopter footage of the cliffside and then they're just dropping in Alan Ritchson there on the cliffside. But it seems like most of it is taking place at this manor, so it's all in Maine, I think is where it said that it was taking place.
DCNC said, why does discovering themselves always involve their nethers? That is a good question. And honestly, to answer that in earnest, I think it's because our sexuality and our sexual faculty as human beings has a lot to do with our deepest identity and our self-worth, truly. So that is exactly why they feel the need to engage in this kind of promiscuous behavior to find themselves, because I mean, your sexuality and your sexed existence as a man or as a woman is the most salient part of your personal identity. So, I mean, it's kind of a seed of truth in all of it. Bookstore Thor said, would take Annie out for ice cream. Love ice cream. Well, yeah, I'm sure you and many others. Shane H. Wilder said, Jaden wants a smart girl, and then says, I was reading The Alchemist the other day. Yeah, you and everybody else. I read it in my teens, then grew up and quit reading pseudo-intellectual drivel. Did you read that in your teens?
I have the book.
I didn't.
Okay, so here's the thing. My mom had that book on like a bookshelf for years, and I got as far as like paging through it. I never actually read it, but it was sitting there on a bookshelf for years.
No Control said Tiger Woods works hard. John Daly, natural talent.
Yeah, like I feel bad for a lot of like, the thing is, when you're really good at something, when you're really, really good at something, you make it look easy. And that's a problem for a lot of people, because then they're like, oh, all he does is just show up and hit the golf ball. And they're like, no, it takes thousands upon thousands of hours of work, discipline, and focus. And a lot of times it gets boiled down to, well, they're just naturally gifted, or they're just this or just that. No, it's hard work.
Right. Seth Essington said, hi, everyone. Hi,
hello.
Seth. Drewish AF of Christendom said, Jaden Smith, total 100 IQ insights, genius. I wouldn't even say he's up to 100. He's still in the double digits.
I would like to take an IQ, because I always talk about my sub 80 IQ. I kind of want to actually find out what my actual IQ is.
How would you go about doing that? Everyone says that, you know, they know their own IQ, but how do you even find out? I guess I'm not smart enough to know.
I could take a test somewhere.
I want to apply for Mensa.
There you go.
Whatever that means. Do I get perks? Is there like a country club or something?
Probably get like a newsletter.
Great.
I mean, I'm guessing most of it is like, you get access to other people who are like that. So if you're like looking to climb the corporate ladder, you're like, hey.
Sure. High Voltage 75 said, any upcoming movies or TV shows you're looking forward to this year? Wow, I must have forgotten about all of them.
Twisted Metal. I am looking forward to the Twisted Metal TV show, season 2 of Twisted Metal. I was obviously looking forward to Reacher season 3, which we're currently in the middle of. As far as movies, I guess I still have to see Captain America this weekend, because I was gone when it premiered. I don't know what I'm looking forward to this year. I would need to look through everything. In fact, I'm gonna pull up a list of like.
Because I always forget.
Jurassic Park slop, let's go.
Ugh, no. Absolutely not.
No?
Okay, what do we got?
Are you looking forward to Freakier Friday?
No. This is the thing. I'm just mad. Just looking at these, it makes me mad.
Oh, Daredevil Born Again. Duh. Daredevil Born Again, I'm looking forward to. I'm currently in the middle of my Daredevil rewatch so that I can be properly prepared. I'm also listening to some really, really good Daredevil retrospectives, like 4-hour-long Daredevil retrospectives from a channel called Spidgy. It's really, really good.
Wow.
And Ballerina. Yes, Ballerina. I do want to see Ballerina.
There's not much that interests me here. Oh, I was looking forward to Mickey 17.
Yeah.
The Robert Pattinson movie where he's a clone, I guess.
Yeah.
That seemed interesting.
Yep.
I didn't expect it to have such a comedic tone, though. Yeah, and of Snow White, of course.
I wish I cared about Suits LA, but there's just something that feels wrong about Suits and now White Collar coming back and not going to the USA Network. I don't want to watch it on NBC.
Shane H. Wilder said Wes Huff likes to think himself a Christian historian who argues against Catholicism without any knowledge of the Church Fathers or early Christendom. Okay. Well, I guess I won't listen to it then, but I had never heard of him or what was the other guy? Billy Carson.
And The Accountant too. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Why?
Because I love the original Accountant.
All right.
I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Go off. I guess we're all caught
All
up.
right. Well-
Maybe the Minecraft movie.
There. Oh, did you see the
How
toys?
exciting.
Did you see the Jack Black Minecraft toy?
No.
It's so bad.
It sounds bad.
It's so bad. It's just like, why would you want like a fat doll of Jack Black in your room? It's gonna come to life and sing to you. It's gonna be horrible. Oh, also
Mission Impossible: The
and
Final
Dead
Reckoning.
Or I'm sorry, Final Reckoning.
See, you
Let's
don't even
go!
know what you're talking about.
Let's
like
go!
you don't even know what the movie is called.
The Accountant.
I will watch Karate Kid. I will begrudgingly watch Karate Kid.
All of those. See, there's just gonna be so much. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have a great year. It's gonna be a fantastic year.
Not gonna watch How to Train Your Dragon. I think 28 Years Later will be interesting.
Yeah.
Megan 2.0 I will be watching.
Yeah, you like the first one a lot.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna get to the fourth Crisis Party. I can just tell.
We're like
before
a
we-
cent away.
before
I think
we-
we will. But we'll get through the outro first.
Yes.
How about that?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please? And subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here yet already. Remember, liking the video, it helps us in the rankings. It bumps us up. Let's do this. And now you can't say that the show hasn't happened yet, so you can't decide whether to like it. Obviously, it was a good show. Obviously, you liked it. So hit the like button. Mary, where can they
Always
find you?
great content here. You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. And we have one last super chat from High Voltage 75. Wednesday season 2, kind of interested in that. Oh, I will be watching that. Yeah. I actually really liked the first season. It was just the right amount of dumb.
And then there's one more there.
Is there?
Yep.
I don't see it.
Oh, it's from Shane H. Wilder. Hold on here. It says Cobra Kai actually did a decent ending.
I didn't even bother. I dropped off of Cobra Kai in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually.
All right. So yes, if you guys would like to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. I will, I believe, be on Timcast IRL tonight, so look out for me derailing there. I'm sure I will have some really, really random television reference that will have little to do with what we're talking about, and I will slip that in there because that's my job. It's to show up and derail. That's
Love
what I do best. If you again like to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic. We are here 5 days a week, guys, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That helps the show as well. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at popculturecrisis, Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. I guess we just hang out until or do we just do a post-credit scene?
You decide.
All
I don't
right.
want to take responsibility for this.
We will see you guys in a post-credit crisis party very, very shortly. We'll see you then, guys. We'll be back on Monday.
Bye.
Everyone.
Headphoneless. Thank you.
It is always so much louder with the headphones off. We'll see you Monday, guys. Bye.